I'm going to bring this in first. So, Dave and Leliah, I want to thank you guys for coming on. First of all, I want to thank you guys for partnering up with us on our upcoming holiday lights map, which everyone can take a look at. It's fun to be able to do some of those things that so many people in the Lehigh Valley, share on social media, but now you can find all those crazy lights that are between Bangor and Macungie in one spot. And I want to thank you guys so much for supporting us and being a part of it. And I'm also excited to learn more about White Elephant Online. Not only is it, a national website that has been featured or being used by a lot of national and international companies, but you're also located in the Lehigh Valley. And that's part of what makes this special and why we're excited to talk to you. So Dave and Leliah, thank you guys for coming on.
Thanks so much for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Yeah, we're very excited to be doing this and to be partnering for the Lights Map.
So before we get into all the White Elephant Online stuff, I want to start with you guys and how you kind of wind back up in the Lehigh Valley. I know, Leliah, you had said that you went to school at Moravian Academy. Can you sort of take me from there and, where do you wind up in the world? How do you guys meet? And then how do you relocate, I guess, back here?
I guess it should be noted that we are husband and wife, in case that wasn't
I'm sorry.
obvious from the get. But yes, for those not, only listening,
sure.
Bill and I are together, and yeah, we're married.
Yeah, so I grew up here, born in Allentown, lived in the Poconos for a while, and then my parents moved back to the Valley right before I graduated from high school. I went to college at Wellesley outside of Boston. And my sophomore year is when I met David. We had a mutual friend, someone that went to Moravian with me, who lived down the hall from David. And we were babies, and we've been together ever since 16 years ago we met.
Oh, wow.
We've been married for 8 years. So we did the school thing, lived in Providence for a while, lived in New York City for 10 years on and off. And last year, right before COVID, completely unrelated to COVID, we moved back to the Valley. We were just looking for a different lifestyle. We knew David wanted to leave his full-time job. I had already left my full-time job years prior. And it's just not feasible to live in the city and not have like a normal job where you can make a lot of money and afford to pay the rent and eat out and do all those things that cost so much more money in the city. So we decided at the end of 2019 to move back here. We bought a house in Bethlehem and we started renovating it. And somehow we moved a week and a half before lockdown in 2020.
I had made arrangements with, who I was working with at the time, and I was going to be kind of my own arrangement of I'll work from home a couple days a week. I'll commute in. It's like,
this new thing is called working from home.
Right. But I was going to commute in a couple times a week, and I ended up only commuting 3 times before they just shut down the office and went full-time remote like everybody else. So yeah, we were very fortunate to, be here, obviously out of the epicenter, have more space. And yeah, so Leliah still has family here, which was another big draw. We know we have friends, we have family in the area.
we have a good network here. So it just made sense for us to come back here. And it's been a great home base for all things White Elephant Online and a lot of other projects that we've been busy.
Yeah.
So how did you guys then kind of bring me along the track of, you have your regular jobs and how does the White Elephant Online idea start to come up? Like, who initially had that or where did it come from?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I had the idea initially and we went from percolating the idea to executing and going live pretty quickly. I was actually on a call with my coworkers at the time last August, in the middle of the pandemic. And at work, we had always done a White Elephant every year for a holiday party. And so we were just talking, what are we going to do this year for the holiday party? And I was like, I'm sure we'll play White Elephant Online. Like, I'm sure there's something out there that exists that we can just kind of, use. And I started Googling and I couldn't find anything. So
is that like send off your little red flag of, wait a minute, there should be something here and there's not? Like,
yeah, absolutely. I think because I went to school at Babson College, which is I got a degree in business management, and with an emphasis on entrepreneurship. It's a big entrepreneurship school. So I definitely I'm constantly thinking of business ideas and trying to find things. So this felt like the first time I Googled something and wasn't already 6 people doing it. I think that was one of the main selling points for Leliah, because I
get business pitches weekly still to this day.
Well, and one of the things I'm going to ask, we're going to get to it, but it's everyone has these ideas, here and there, and it's just that taking it from, hey, that's a pretty good idea, to we're spending money on this and we're actually launching it. That's the scary part. So how do you go from that? This is a pretty good idea. Your wife's like, all right, this isn't horrible. Let's give it a little bit more legs to it. Like, how do you go into that space?
Yeah. So yeah, I think definitely the first piece of it was the conversation between us. Her kind of, I guess, get it. And your initial reaction was not the most positive.
Yeah, it was like an online game, and I don't know if that's the space we want to be in, because we were looking for something that would allow David to leave his job so that we could both be full-time on our own projects, and it just didn't feel like this was going to be it. We had no experience with online games. We have a lot of experience in tech, but not with an online gaming platform. It just didn't seem like something that was in our wheelhouse. But once we realized it didn't exist, it was one of those things that it just seemed like it was worth a shot, because it's tech startups can be really low cost, right? We're fully bootstrapped, and David recruited someone that he was working with at the time, a really strong engineer, and so we made him a partner in the company, and so our only costs were really hosting and getting our website up.
Yeah, marketing, and so we tried to approach it, and that person's Andre, who's our chief engineer and business partner, and so. I think that was maybe the more nerve-wracking sell in terms of I'm pitching Leliah on, and no, I think we kind of had that moment of, okay, this could really work. But without an engineer to build it, it becomes a much tougher, you need somebody to build it, but then it becomes a much bigger proposition of, okay, are we going to spend tens of thousands of dollars to pay somebody to do this? Which we may have. Fortunately, we didn't need to make that decision because Andre, got on board and was excited about the idea as well.
Well, I think people don't think about some of that aspect of it too. Making an app or making anything like this, it takes hundreds of hours to have somebody who's going to code it and who's going to be able to answer complaints and deal with tech issues, especially something like this where you have, multiple people in a game, and that's where you have to approach it holistically, not.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of that we knew going into it. Oh, we'll have to think about these things. And then plenty of that we're just completely surprised and overwhelmed by as we went through it. Right. So I think the customer support piece is definitely a great example of that you just talked about. When we first kind of envisioned this, we kind of imagined it more as a kind of just consumer application. Friends and family are using it. Maybe it's free. We'll just do advertising and make money that way. And after we got rejected by Google to get ads, we're like, oh, maybe we need to pivot and actually charge for this. And then, we should focus on businesses. And so you get into this place where you're like, suddenly you're managing a business to business, software. And so, the customer support was definitely the thing that we were most surprised, just the amount of time and energy and questions.
Well, the stakes are different when you're talking about paying customers versus a free product for consumers. You have to be able to have a robust customer service promise behind that. If you're having companies stake their entire holiday party during a year when people really needed something to look forward to on our platform that we launched literally the Monday before Thanksgiving last year. So there was a lot we just didn't know. And it was.
How did it go? Did that go relatively smoothly, or how was your initial rollout? And how do you do? I mean, you said you were Google disapproved your ads. Was there reasoning for that? Did you compete with them, or was that
No, it was just this was part of the learning process, right?
Right.
How do we monetize this? Google, it seemed, based on our research, was much more focused on content-rich websites, whereas what we were offering was an application. Oh, advertise while they're playing this game, and they just weren't really interested in that as much anymore.
And that's an evolution of Google's philosophy on that. So when we were just spitballing how we would monetize this, it was obviously ads. And then we didn't know until a couple of weeks into it that we weren't going to be able to do ads, and we started moving in that other direction.
Yeah. And all of this is a moving, fortunately. So my background professionally is in product management, which is basically working with engineers to ship products. The main role is sort of talking to customers, understanding kind of the business end of it, translating that to kind of build a roadmap of what you want to build. So I had a lot of experience kind of in this specific realm, but it was definitely a challenge because any decision you make is going to have implications for, okay, now we want to charge for it. Andre, can you build us a checkout platform and integrate that and do it? So, you have to constantly be having those conversations about what are the trade-offs, what do we need to go live with? So I think there's a lot of learnings on that front.
Yeah, I think the other really unique thing about White Elephant Online is that we went from concept to a functioning platform in less than 3 months. And that's a crazy tight timeline for any tech product, but definitely for one that the stakes felt high last year, I think, with everything that was going on.
And you wanted to roll it out quickly just because of the climate that was there in terms of, things were shut down, people were home, they were taking maybe more safety precautions than ever before, so that you had that space to kind of get to them. Right.
Yeah, the window was there, but it was tight, right? Because if we didn't hit it that holiday season, then someone else is going to do it, or we'll miss the boat, or whatever. So, yeah, there's definitely a lot of pressure. And we went live with a marketing website as quickly as possible, started collecting emails, started to do some advertising around it. But yeah, the actual platform didn't go live until the Monday before Thanksgiving. And, overall, it was great. Huge success. We've had over 140,000 people play games on the platform last season. But definitely the initial rollout had its bumps.
If it went smoothly, I'd be very surprised. Like, that's quick and a lot of people. So,
yeah. I think, and also as we're talking about, having to make so many trade-offs, we really went live with, in tech, there's this term MVP, minimum viable product, which is like, what is the least you can ship where it's still valuable and people will use it? And I think we tried to take that to heart. So, for example, when we first launched it, you couldn't edit your name. You could sign up, but you couldn't edit your name because we just didn't get to that feature yet.
Sure.
We're like, oh, that's not a big deal. Like, no, you put in your name once. But of course, we had a separate bug that caused everybody's last name to be their first name. So the first, 100 people that signed up, it was like, David, Leliah. And we're getting all these emails. Hey, how do I edit my name? And we're like doing it on the back end. So,
luckily that was the only one.
But it's fun. And I'm sure it's a fun way to find out that you have a bug too, when it's affecting hundreds of people.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
But there was the benefit to that too, right? Because we were getting feedback in real time from customers. Yeah. We were able to roll out features that people were actually asking for and that were valuable to them. So it goes both ways.
Yeah.
And did you guys have you worked together previously before this, or is this the first time that you as a married couple have worked together on something?
It's a great question. I think we've worked together in various ways.
Yeah, I think this is the first kind of traditional situation where we're working together. But when I first left my job, I worked in finance for a while after college, and I left my job to flip houses full time in the Valley, actually. And so David and I worked pretty closely on that, particularly on the business side of that.
And I was here swinging a hammer on weekends. We lived in the city at the time.
Yeah. And we do a lot of stuff together, a lot of projects together. We've come up with concepts before that we never really took all the way to market. Right. So we've definitely worked together in the past in varying ways, but this was our first real foray. But it's always been a goal of ours to be able to both be self-employed and work on projects together full time.
Yeah, it's like a blessing and a curse. And I can say this because my wife and I own our company. So it's like great because I can run downstairs like I have this idea, but then it's like, let's not talk about work and watch a movie for 2 hours. But no, it is fantastic because you have someone to really throw things off of them, and they're not going to judge you. You can be a little bit more open with it. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is the biggest challenge, though, is finding those boundaries. We'll find ourselves like going for a walk around the neighborhood and just like talking constantly about White Elephant, and we have to remind ourselves to pull it back and talk about literally anything else for 20 minutes.
So we decided to keep our Facebook Messenger conversations not work related, and then we'll use Slack for work stuff, so that we know, like, if it comes through that, it's for work, and if it comes the other.
That's pretty good.
And when you mess it up, you're like, wait a minute, why are you sending me this work stuff on here? So we try to keep it somewhat.
I like that.
Yeah, that's great.
Let's get into the whole white elephant. We haven't even talked about what is a white elephant. I think we touched on it a little bit. I think everyone's had an experience with it. Before we get into the nuance of some, like, how the whole game works, have you guys, I'm sure you touched on some of the research of it. I didn't until today. I went on Wikipedia. I know I went really deep.
Yeah.
But just into, like, what people think the white elephant came from. And for my research, the phrase is said to come from the historic practice of the King of Siam, Thailand, giving rare albino elephants to courtiers who displeased him, so that they might be ruined by the animal's upkeep costs.
Right, because white elephant is sacred, so you can't, like, get rid of it, but you also, yeah.
So you kind of, like, had to, you were maybe somewhat thankful and happy, but I see how the phrase kind of came from it, because you might get that one present that you're like, this is great. But
right.
You're always going to have fun with it, right?
Yeah, I mean, that description made it sound a lot more sinister than I think the modern game is.
I like it. There should be like a movie around that.
But no, yeah, absolutely. So for those who don't know, white elephant, it's also referred to as Yankee swap. I grew up in New England. We call it the Yankee swap, which has slightly different rules, but apparently they call it Dirty Santa in the South. There's a whole bunch of names, but the basic concept is everyone comes with a gift, and let's say you have 15 people, you throw it on the table, everyone draws numbers, and which dictate the order. You can either open or steal gifts. So number 1 opens up a gift. Number 2 can either steal that person's gift or open up a new gift, right? And it just kind of keeps going. It's a really fun and interactive game. Right, you have some. So the name, right, white elephant is because kind of sort of classically you'll get some really silly gifts or kind of things.
Well, it's kind of the fun of, especially in a work environment, you have that flexibility of having that silly gift and not having someone be upset about it.
Right, exactly. Right, and usually, the gift limits
are more gimmicky, something.
Yeah, I mean,
different.
You're spending $20 or give or take. It's not generally like these really extravagant things. It's just let's have a good time, and once in a while, you'll have some good gifts in there. You have some really silly ones, but that's why it makes it fun, because you're trying to get the gift that you want, and
right.
And I think also the gift you bring. I know every time I played White Elephant, it's like, oh, what can I do? Like, you want to express yourself through your gift. I want something that's really, really funny or really cool or whatever. So
I remember my first one when I worked at a newspaper after I graduated college, and we did one. I don't remember what I gave to somebody, but I remember I got this like mail holder for you would put when you walk into your house, and you could put mail in there. And I was so happy. I still have it because it was the first thing that I could put in my apartment that was like adult related. I could put my bills in there and whatnot.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And it's still funny. I still have that like that many years later. So you're right. It could be just a funny thing that is gimmicky for that holiday season, or you never know. It could be something that you hold on to.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny, the things that one person, one person's trash is another person's treasure kind of thing, right? I'm sure someone else would have been like, a mail holder? What am I going to do with this dumb thing? But you're like, this is great.
It was just kind of like in the moment too. It was the first time that I had participated, and I did some, before COVID previously, and they've always been a good time. So before we can come back and talk about some other stuff after this, but did you kind of I want to bring this on screen.
Yeah, sure.
So if you want, I'm going to kind of let you take the reins here a little bit and describe what's going on and how this all sort of works.
Yeah, sure. So, one of the big discussion points that we had early on was, okay, how do you translate this for the web and how do you make this work? One of the challenges is that you don't know who's going to get your gift until the end of the game, right? So it's not like something you can, we're playing on December 15th, everyone ship your gift ahead of time. It doesn't work that way. So basically how we designed it is, you can see this is sort of an example game here, a bunch of gifts on the gift table. And so submitting your gift is really as simple as, post link to any online retailer. We'll grab the name and the image. You can choose kind of the gift wrap you want to have on the table. And that's all it is to start with until game day. Somebody will serve as the game lead. So they'll share their screen and be the one to actually, this is supposed to be used in conjunction with Zoom. So someone will share their screen and be the one to kind of click to open and steal gifts. And that's something that we found just kind of makes it really interactive because people aren't all on their own computer clicking to open things. They're all watching the same screen. They're calling things out. They're deliberating out loud. So it kind of just makes it a really kind of fun and engaging experience. And, especially because there's people on a podcast only that can't see the screen I'm sharing right now, but basically I'll fly through this. But
and all this stuff, we have this. So people who are listening, we do have all of these links available, including like about a 3-minute walkthrough video that really is succinct and great about showing you how to do this. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but the system takes care of all the rules, right? So it will assign numbers to everyone. You can start the game and it will take you through it step by step, right? So leading a game is not complicated. It'll tell you, okay, Adrian's up first. Adrian, what do you want to do? Oh, I'll open gift number 6. Okay, let's see what happens. We have these funny little GIFs that play in between. And
Nice.
I'll tell you what you open.
I could use that actually.
Mini karaoke microphone. Yes. This is a classic white elephant gift, right? Like it's kind of silly, but like.
But you also.
I would use this.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would find a way.
So then, okay, Wade is up next. So
but they could steal that microphone, right? Like if I saw it, I'm like, you know what? That I'm in for that. I don't even need to open anything else.
Right, exactly.
That's good.
So Wade steals that. But then there's some things happening behind the scenes where you can make it so any given gift can only be stolen 3 times. Okay. So at some point it gets locked. So then like, okay, well now what's the next gift everyone's going after? But that's the basic gameplay. You keep going, you have a great time. At the end of the game, it will tell everybody what they won and kind of who won their gift. And then you can actually, at that time, let's say you're just friends and family, okay, Adrian got my gift. I either have her address or I can just kind of shoot her a text or an email and say, hey, send me your address. At that time, you'll actually buy the gift and ship it to them. So you never need to wrap your own gift. You never need to deal with it. You can kind of just handle it that way.
Can you explain, how does that work again? So if I were like at the end of the game, I love the fact too that you just put the link in. So if I find a gift that's really interesting on Amazon, I don't have to go through this whole process of buying it ahead of time and all that. So when it finishes, I read that you could give a gift card for that amount and then give them the link, or how does that work?
Yeah, so we have a number of different options. One thing this is a perfect example of that sort of like early feedback that we hadn't really thought about. The basic premise is we'll tell you who won your gift, you can get their address, and you can ship it to them. But one of the pieces of early feedback we got was for companies that are concerned about employee privacy, they don't necessarily want people feeling like they need to share their address with their coworker, right? So we have another number of other what we call gift distribution options, which will basically prompt them to do different things depending on what the organizer wants. So instead of shipping it, you can send them an e-gift card of equal value so that you can just do that via email and they can purchase the gift themselves. Or you can have a central HR person actually purchase and ship all the gifts themselves, and we'll give you a report to handle it that way. So we have a few of those to make sure that no matter the makeup of the group or kind of their comfort with that sort of thing, there's a way to do it.
And how has this season been going so far? I mean, we're recording this just a few days before Thanksgiving, and that was a year from your launch date, almost your anniversary. How is it going now? What are your sort of plans? I'm sure they're going to change when it gets to a year from here, but how do you look at it business-wise as you're looking into this holiday season?
Yeah, I think so far this year, things are looking pretty strong. I think in January, we thought the world would look a little bit different than it does right now. So we were expecting to be focused really solely on companies this year who were remote first companies and had, workforces spread around the country or around the world. Unfortunately, that's not the way things actually panned out. So we're still seeing a lot of personal games created, a lot of friends and family using the platform to come together. But so far, the demand's been pretty strong. I mean, every day we're kind of second guessing how strong this year will be. But so far, things are looking really good this year.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a really unique business because it's so seasonal. It's sort of like and because this is only our second season, it's hard for us
Right.
to predict kind of how it will grow. But yeah, so far so good. And I think we're happy with, we were chiseling away at things all year long, right? So working with Andre to continue to roll out features. So this year, there's more backgrounds, more wrapping, more tools for admins. Better user experience, just making things, if you're sharing on the screen, you can see things better. Just a million little things just to make the platform really fun and exciting and useful. So we're happy to see a lot of that come together. I think the reaction has been good so far. And we'll see. I mean, it really is right. We're right at the precipice where last year we had just gone live, and then things kind of exploded from there in the coming weeks. So we'll see what happens.
And listen, the world is in, like you said, like we're maybe not where we thought we would be. And we can have a game like this where we could play during the holiday season. We encourage people to check it out, even if it's just maybe you're not going to be with your entire family, or you're spread across the country, or like you said, you have a remote team where this is something where you can jump on a Zoom and you're not in a meeting for once, and you kind of have some fun with it as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and we should mention there is, we have different pricing models, but there is a free tier for friends and family. If you want, first of all, anyone can sign up for free to check it out. Personal games with friends and family are free up to 10 players. And it's sort of a sliding scale from there for corporations, depending on the number of people that are playing. But yeah, I think you just hit the nail on the head of like, why does this thing resonate? Why does it work? Is White Elephant is just a really fun game inherently. Mm-hmm. So if you help facilitate that, people will have a great time. And B, yeah, it's just it's a thing to do where it's not just another Zoom happy hour and you're all staring at each other. It's a way to actually like interact with your coworkers, have a great time, have something memorable that's a little unique from maybe what you're doing the rest of the year.
Right. And how do you guys, as young entrepreneurs, who move back to the Lehigh Valley, I think it's fascinating because you don't have a sign outside of your house, I'm assuming, that says White Elephant online.
Right.
It's interesting. Did you guys see yourselves kind of going down this path? And are you, I don't know, like, are you looking to the future to always kind of keep your horizons open to new ideas? And it just must be exciting to have this, and then, what could come next,
Yeah, definitely. Well, listen, we're definitely excited about it. As Leliah mentioned, I think we were always kind of working towards this goal of being self-employed. Mm-hmm. Leliah actually started another business with her sister a couple of years ago.
Yeah. So when I quit my job after I flipped houses and kind of burnt out on that after a few years, my sister and I started a business, and we make pajamas for women in New York City. My sister still lives there, so she helps manage the whole thing. But yeah, so we're really focused on being kind of self-sustainable. We want to be able to set our own schedule.
Sure.
We're pretty crazy people, and this year we decided to build our own camper van. So we spent 3 months earlier this year converting a Ram ProMaster into a camper, which was a ridiculous experience, but it allows us to kind of travel.
When do you guys have free time to do that?
It was not during the holiday season, so we were able to squeeze that in. But yeah, now we can travel and kind of work from wherever, and we're definitely interested in being, kind of working remotely and being nomads and being able to go wherever we want.
I love it. And I love that there's that opportunity now. It doesn't matter where you live for the most part, as long as you have an internet capable device and you can get on there and do some work. It's fun and interesting to see how many successful people are in that online space in the Lehigh Valley that you drive by their house, you would never know. So.
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think we're fortunate to, some people do the van thing or the nomad thing or just truly nomads. We're very happy to keep our home base here in Lehigh Valley. It's great to have a home to come back to and the community and the friends and family. But yeah, it's a super interesting time. One other thing that I'm involved in is I actually started a newsletter called Remotely Useful, that it's just kind of all about remote work, just a weekly newsletter.
Great.
And so I've spent a lot of time, I think we kind of found ourselves, again, this is where something a little unexpected, something like White Elephant, where we kind of woke up suddenly and we're like, oh, we're kind of in the remote work space, right? we want to expand our name recognition with remote companies. Is where people will find a lot of value. And so I started the newsletter both as a way to kind of share ideas, but also as kind of force me to learn, like, let me read about this, let me write about this. And so I think we see just that world, like the business opportunities in that world. We're not sure exactly what it looks like, but continuing to think about that in the context of White Elephant and just other things of how do you bring people together that are not physically together. It's just a really, it's a really interesting question and challenge. So I think we're looking forward to that.
I was reading an article today, something to the effect of, once human beings find a convenience, it's hard to take them away from that. So like the whole, I can work remotely from home and get as much done. Why would I come in? It's hard to get that, I guess, that cat back in the bag. So because of that, there's going to be all these other opportunities that we don't even know exist. Like I always say, 2 years ago, I wouldn't expect to be doing a podcast like this, where we're perfect segue, talking about our holiday lights map.
Yeah.
Which grew out of our 12-foot tall skeleton map. We had 35,000 people view it. We had so many people say, hey, can you do a holiday one? Because the Lehigh Valley just has some insane, different displays throughout, from, like I said, from Bangor to Macungie and everywhere in between. Yeah. And like you said, it kind of makes the perfect fit. We're launching the map the same time people should be launching their games on White Elephant Online and getting to learn the platform a little bit more. And I want people to stay tuned too. We don't know yet, but we might be doing an online game or something to that effect. So just stay checking out the links that we have in the show notes, and being sure to check out Lehigh Valley with Love media.com, and especially whiteelephantonline.com.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Dave and Leliah, I want to thank you so much, not only for partnering with us, but for coming on and sharing your story. Like, this is, to me, the fun part of this is to continue to tell these stories and to share like what the Lehigh Valley can offer to, entrepreneurs who are flipping houses one day and running online holiday contests and things the next. So
absolutely. No, thanks for having us on. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay. All right. We'll talk to you guys soon. Appreciate it. Thank you. whiteelephantonline.com. Check out the show notes. We'll talk to you soon.